Hello Stampers, my name is Linda Bedinger and I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator in Denver, Colorado. And this is my buddy Puccini, who's chewing on me. And he keeps me company in the craft room. And today we have a very fun card for you using some of the material from Celebration. I'll be using Beautifully Happy, a stamp set that's available in Celebration. And let's just get started. Here is my card, and I'm going to change only one thing. I thought this one would look better if it was moved up. This image was moved up on the card just a little bit, and this was a real journey in figuring out how to put this one together. And so I made it for a feeling better kind of day. I have a couple of folks that are under the weather and might be cheered up by a card like this. And I'm going to show you several other versions that I tried. This was an early version of the card front, and it was done with I used Sahara sand on this one to stamp the images and then colored them in. And they are so pale by comparison and almost look fuzzy or feathery. And so I decided I didn't like that version, although I kind of like this stamped in this color. Then another version that I did was this one, where I did a couple of things differently. I started adding the speckles, and I stamped each of the flowers in its own color. And that was a little bit better, a little brighter, and a little bit less fuzzy, but it was still not kind of what I was looking for. Then the next one I did was, I think, this one. And that one was quite a bit brighter, had the speckles, and I did it as a birthday card, and I put it on a red backing, which I decided I didn't care for as much. And again, I did this. I was using the in color, so I stamped the outlines of all of these things in Orchid Oasis. And in the end, this was the final version that I did before I did the card that have here. And I did the images all in black, so there was way more contrast. And I was experimenting with green speckles versus the Orchid Oasis speckles. And this is the version I ended up with, and I like it much better. If you look at these, they're all just pale by comparison. And the first one, I liked the idea of it, but I wasn't very happy with how it came together. Okay, so to make this card, you need a piece of Orchid Oasis. This is 8.5 by 5.5 scored in, and we'll fold it at 4 1/4. And then I need 2 pieces of basic white at 4 by 5 1/4, one for the inside and one for the outside. It's really a pretty simple card and pretty much a single layer, just one layer in there. So, and then I have a couple of 1/4-inch strips of the Orchid Oasis, and you need a little bit of linen thread. And so that is what we need to put this together. So I'm going to show you on the stamping for this, because it is all stamping, all of the flowers, all of the innards. This is the stamp set that I used, Beautifully Happy, and you could just use the outlines, and they're beautiful. And so I used this flower, but it has an inside. This one has the inside of the flowers, of this little piece, of the leaves, and it's got, for a very happy birthday, kindness matters, thank you, you're easy to love, sending happy thoughts, and for a feeling better day. So I made this one Feeling Better Day. So we need to just take this card and we need to fold it, get it squared up, and then burnish this one in place. There we go. And make sure that that's burnished well so it stays closed. Now for my stamping, let me just show you. I'm going to move some of these things out of the way because I've got my Stamparatus all set up. And what I did was I did use these corners. They're from the Misty stamping positioner. They sell a kit of corners and other kinds of magnets to kind of hold things down, but they work perfectly well with the Stamparatus. And so on this one, I've got my paper in here and all set up, and my stamps right where I'm going to want them. The biggest thing on this one is stamping this one high enough up that you have a way to add some flowers down below, which I didn't do on this one because it was too far down the page, and a couple up above here on the top if you want a nice full bouquet, which I did. And so we've got this set up for here, and then I can use another piece and put it in place here for the inside sentiment, and I've got it on the other door, and we'll turn it around and I'll show you all about that. So on this, what I need to do is set this up, and I decided that the thing that gave me the best contrast on this card was to stamp the outline in black. So I have my memento here, and I'm going to ink up my flowers and my sentiment here. And I set it up in the Stamparatus so that I could stamp this multiple times because I want a dark, very crisp outline. And so I'm going to go ahead and put this into place here with the full intention that I'm going to ink this up a couple of times because I want a really dark image. So there we go for round 2. And I see that it's having a little bit of trouble in the center there. And so let's see how we did on that one. Much better. See how nice and crisp that's looking? I think I'm going to do one more down here on the message, and one, well, I'll just put it lightly, but most of my ink is going to go right there because I want to make this a little bit darker. And there we go. And I love that. It's nice and dark and just the way I want it. And as long as I've got it in here, since this is already on a cushion, I could just do my stamping right here. So I want to add another couple of flowers. And this is the extra flower. And what I'm going to do is I want to add a flower like I did here, kind of right up in here, and one right over here. And then I want to add one right down here, and maybe even right down here tucked in close. Now the problem is the stem. So what you want to do is ink this up really well, and then what I did was I used a baby wipe here to cut off the stem, and in fact this additional little bud that is on some of the flowers here. And so I'm going to ink this up again and get it just as inked as I possibly can. And I'm going to take the ink off the bud and the stem. There we go. And I'm going to tuck this flower right in here, and I don't want that stem to be showing on the rest of my flowers. So see, it looks like it fits there perfectly. All right, so now I'm going to do it again, ink that up. I'm going to take out the stem and this little bud here, because I don't want any color there, and I'm going to stick one more flower right in here. Now, because I'm not using my Stamparatus, if you don't get a perfect image, you can always take your black marker and go around an edge just to get that super dark image that you're looking for. And that's what I did, although those are stamped pretty well. Now I want to continue making my full bouquet, and I want one piece down here, and we'll see if I'll see if it looks okay to put the fourth one in, but at least 3, I think. Okay, so again, I'm going to take out my stem and this little bud, and I'm going to put one right in, tucked in right here between these 2 leaves. Okay, there we go. You know, that might be enough. I think I'm going to leave off the 4th one. Okay, so I've got that stamping done, and then this comes with the pieces that fill in. So the first piece to fill in is this one, which is going to cover this flower, this flower, this flower, this bud, and this little bud over here. So I'm going to take my Orchid Oasis, and this makes it a little easier because these are photopolymer. Because the black is so dark, you can really see where you're putting your stamp down. So I've got my stamp inked up. You're going to have to excuse my head if I get it in the way here. And I'm going to line it up as best I can. And go ahead and do my stamping there. And there we go. I'm a little bit off, but I'm going to stamp it a second time. That's one of the beauties of working with a photopolymer, is that you can get it set right where you want it. And I want the color a little darker, and I'll show you another trick for keeping the colors a little bit more vibrant. And there we go. And that is using a blender pen. And I have this blender pen here with some scratch paper where I can make sure that all of the previous color is off of this pen. And I'm going to dip it in that ink, and I'm going to fill in those spots that I kind of missed on this flower, and look how nicely that looks like I stamped it perfectly. So it's one of those tricks that you can use, and sometimes you don't even need to add ink, because all you're doing, all the blender pen does is move the ink around that is already on there, and so you can get perfect looks without using much more ink. But look how nice and vibrant that is. So that is the Orchid Oasis, and then the trick is what color I'm going to use for the other flowers. And I've been using this one, Sweet Sorbet, because it's part of the in colors, and it's kind of a pretty color. And so here is my stamp, and you'll see there's just the tiniest little cone shape in the center there. Do you see that? And you see these cones in the flowers? That's how you line this one up. So I'm going to put this in the red, and I'm not getting directly over this, so I'm going to move this a little bit so I can get my head right over the top of it and see how close I can get to getting that stamped exactly right. Very close. And I'm going to stamp that a second time. There we go. for the colors to be a bit more vibrant. I'm going to add my red and a second red. Where you can get your nose right over the top of it when you're doing yours, this is real easy to get accurate. Okay, now down here we have this last one. And I'm going to stamp, and then I'm going to stamp again. And there we go. So that is that. Now, what I found is there is a stamp in this set that colors in this little piece that is the buds on the stem. And I found that working with the blender pen worked better for me. Let's see, I need the leaves. So this is the leaves, and it's going to cover those leaves right down there. And we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to set this up to do those leaves. Try to get it as close as I can. And the other thing you can do is go around the edge with your black marker and pick up those edges that you missed. I'll show you here in a second. So I'm going to do this one a second time. So we get that green, because Parakeet Party is such a pretty color. And stamped a couple of times, it's just nice and bright. Now then, back to my blender pen and take that Orchid Oasis off of my pen here. And I'm going to use the green, and I'm going to come in and I'm going to do the little underside of the flowers there. And then I'm going to do those leaves. And I'm going to do them a couple of times here. So the underside of those buds. And then these little buds on this stem. And the little green leaves that accompany it. And it's like the flower stems at the bottom before they've opened. And I added my green this way. Like I said, there's a stamp that does this, but I had a bit of a tough time aiming it. And since I want to do everything in darker relief, I found that working with the blender pen actually worked almost a little bit better for me anyway. So there we go. And I'm just dabbing this color in because I want it pretty intense and I don't want to smear the black. So there we go. All right, isn't that pretty? I just love the vibrancy of the colors, especially when you stamp it a second time. Now I'm going to close up my ink pads for the moment. I need to do some more stamping on the inside of the card. So I'm going to take this, oh, there's one more piece I need to do some stamping here. And I need my Orchid Oasis back to do it. And that is those cute little splatters on here. And it's got a splatter stamp, and see the shape of it, makes it really easy to kind of put it in between the flowers and the leaves to get that look, or go sort of around them, like right in here, and add that texture out this way. Now, I think that is all the maybe a few right up here at the top. There we go. All right, I think that's perfect. And I will have listed below the links. I am an affiliate of Amazon, and it helps me a little bit with my business. And so this is the sticky paper that is used to help hold your paper down. And then these corners, I'll list a link below if you would like to purchase those. And if you use my link to go to Amazon, it helps me a little bit because I'm an affiliate. It doesn't cost you anything more, but it does help me with my business. Okay, so next I'm going to take the next piece of white and put that in here and get that set so that it's right in here, because I'm going to take my door and turn it around because I put the other stamp for the inside for the sentiment. Yep, that's off a bunch. So I'll clean this up and reset this so you can see how I did that. So I want this one to say sending, it says sending happy thoughts. So I want that one in a good 1/2 inch and down from the top by 3/4 of an inch, something like that, and get that in there like that, and pick that up with the door on the other side and do that also in the black ink. So I'm going to do my sending happy thoughts, and I'm going to do that a couple times so I get a nice crisp image that looks pretty good. And then I'm also going to use this flower again on the bottom of this card. So I've got my flower, and this time I don't care if the stems are on there because I'm going to set this up just free form here on the inside. And so there I've got my first flower in and my second flower in, and I'm not very happy with that stamping, so I'm going to use my black marker here to get a little bit more definition on a little bit of that image. And this is something you can do. You have to be very careful when you stamp them because the marker is not the same as the memento, and it would smear a little bit more. So you want to be really careful when you're doing your stamping then once you've used the marker. I suppose I could do the stamping first and then use the marker, but that's not how I approached it. So on here, I'm going to do, let's see, I'm going to wipe this off, and I'm going to do these flowers on the inside in this same beautiful Orchid Oasis. And so I'm going to center that using that little cone in the middle to help me get it centered. And I'm going to stamp that one twice as well. And then this one. There we go. And then on this one, I'm going to use my black marker to go around and make that definition in the black. You can always go just around where you've overstamped and it looks like more petals on the flower. And you can fill that in and make it look like it was stamped perfectly. There we go. And then I'm going to use my blender pen again once I wipe it off and put the green back in on the bud and the bottom of the flower. So I'm going to get a little bit of green and come in here and add that little touch of that beautiful bright green. What a pretty color combination that is. And because this one, I'm going to put gems in the centers of the flowers on the front, but in here I don't want that dimension, so I'm using my Mango Melody marker, and I'm adding a dark yellow center to the center of my flowers, and then I'm going to use my splatter here to mimic what I've done on the front of the card. Like that. And in fact, I'm going to add a splatter around the top of my message and around the bottom of my message. There we go. That is all of the stamping. Quite a bit of stamping on this one. Usually I don't do that much stamping, but this stamp set just looks like it calls for it. It's so pretty, and it's so bright when you stamp the colors twice, and you could use any colors you wanted, but I kind of like the idea of this. All right, now that piece is all ready to go. Move this out of the way, on the inside of my card. And this piece is ready to go on the outside of my card. So that's what we're going to do. We'll put this piece on the inside and put some seal down on it. I was talking to one of the people on my team the other day, and she was having trouble with the seal and wanted the tip, and all you need to do is draw your seal down, then lift it up and check it off, and that brings the tape right up to the top of the next piece. And so you've got your stuff right at the top, and it's available to go on. So that's how you do that. And then this gets put into place like that. And this one on the front, and again, down, up, and check off. Down, up, and check off. And you get your seal where you want it. There we go. And this goes on the front of my card. Isn't that just pretty? And I do think I like it better on the Orchid Oasis rather than picking up the red. I don't know what these flowers are supposed to be, but they're awfully pretty. Then I have a piece of Orchid Oasis that has been cut 1/4 inch by 5 1/4 inches. And let's see, I have two pieces. This one doesn't look straight. I think it's the end. So I've got my silicone mat here, and I am going to take my dot runner for this part, and there's a link below for Amazon to get the dot runner dispenser and the refills as well. And there is that one. And on the inside, I'm going to add a little bit here as well, and put that one on the inside with a similar margin. And there we go. Now then, the last thing I have to do on my card is to add a little bit of bling. And I have my champagne rhinestones here, and I'm going to use my pick tool, I'm going to put a medium-sized one in the center of the larger flower right here. And then I'm going to use the smaller ones for the inside. I don't know why I do that. I really need my take-a-pick tool to pick those up. So much easier. And then I had taken a little bit of the linen thread and made a double bow. I want a pretty small bow, and then I'll cut away the tails on this. And I added a little bow right down here at the bottom of my bouquet with a glue dot. And put it across those two glue dots right down there at the base of my flowers. And there we go. That is the finished product. So thank you so much for stopping by my YouTube channel today. I do so appreciate it. And there's my two cards. And you can see how this one's yet even darker than this one, and I like it better. So the more contrast I have, the better I seem to like this. This needs some splatters right down here. Turn it this way so it kind of cradles that flower. And add there. There, I think that helps. You'll have to tell me what you think. I just love this little card. I think it would be great fun to get for a birthday card, or for like this one, a get well card. And I do like the flower moved further up. And sometimes it's not so much further up, but a little bit more angled up. And so you have enough room to add all of your extra flowers there. And there's that one on the inside and this one on the inside. I think I like this one better. So that's it for me. If you don't already have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, well, I'd love to be your demonstrator, or you could join my team. There's a special join offer going right now in Stampin' Up! That goes through Celebration, and it is noted in the back of the Celebration catalog. That's a really good deal. It's the mini trimmer and $175 worth of product for $129. It's a really, really good deal. And you don't have to have your first minimum until the end of June. So now's a really good time to join, because you get basically a half a year to get rolling. I have a prize draw every month, and you get yourself entered in the prize draw by putting an order on my store, lbedinger.stampinup.net, and you can get to it through my blog, www.ingenuity.com. An order of any size and puts you in the drawing for a $60 shopping spree on me. So thanks again for stopping by, and I will be back soon with more cards, more projects, and more tips. Bye.